Would you be the jerk for telling your sister-in-law that her side hustle makes her a bad person? We'll get into her side hustle and more in a bit, but first, am I the jerk for refusing to give my niece pizza we had and making her eat peanut butter instead? My male 30 niece, Penelope, 13-year-old female, has been staying with me for 4 days while her mom is away on a business trip. Having her here has been a massive challenge. She's bratty, spoiled, and entitled. She throws fits like a toddler when she doesn't get exactly what she wants when she wants it. Will literally scream and kick and throw herself on the ground. I've been doing my best to deal with it, along with my own family. 2 nights ago, we decided to order takeout for dinner from a pizza/sandwich place. I allowed everyone to pick their own entree. Penelope looked at the menu and declared she didn't want anything on the menu, that it was all disgusting and she wanted sushi instead. I told her we were ordering from the pizza place and to pick something off their menu. She threw my phone at me and refused to tell me what she wanted. I told her clearly that if she couldn't find something on the menu, then she would be stuck with peanut butter and jelly. She still refused. Meanwhile, my 2 boys decided they would order a small pizza to share. Before I called in the order, I once again asked Penelope if she was sure. I listed the pizzas, salads, sandwiches, and sides and kids' meals they had. She didn't even acknowledge me. I ordered for everyone else. An hour later, the food arrived. I played everyone's order and made a PB&J for Penelope. When I brought the plates out, Penelope said, "Oh, there's pizza? I'll have that." I said no, the pizza was for the 2 boys who ordered it and there might not be enough to share. She lost it, screamed and cried and called me names. I ignored her and carried on serving and eating dinner with the family. She eventually chose to eat crackers. Well, my sister came to get her this morning and Penelope told her how terrible I was for not giving her pizza when the boys got it. My sister was angry, saying I could have asked the boys to share some or ordered a pizza for Penelope, and while I could have done those things, I didn't want to. Penelope made her decision, I warned her of the consequences, and I didn't feel like I needed to fix the situation she chose. So who's right? I don't think OP's the jerk here. Hopefully this is just like a one-off and a learning situation and not indicative of maybe something more. But at face value, I think OP did a pretty reasonable thing and it's good for her to learn and know you gotta take charge for yourself and decide what you want. Rural Juror Direct to DVD commented, "Not the jerk." Penelope sounds like she's got something deeper going on if she's behaving like this at 13, but that's neither here nor there. This is a great opportunity to teach Penelope that words mean things. If you say, "No, I don't want that," you don't get to change your mind when it looks good and now you want it. Sucks, but that's life. People aren't able to read your mind. She was being bratty and rude, so she had to pay the consequences. OP responded saying, "She doesn't, she's just intensely spoiled. We're talking only child of multi-millionaires." Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy getting to decide whether or not all of these people are jerks, it would be amazing if you left a like or left a review if you're listening to my podcast. That said, our next story is, am I the jerk for encouraging my daughter not to watch her cousin or clean up his mess? Whenever my sister Lynn goes to any family event, she never watches her own kids and expects everyone else to, including my own children who have complained about it. She will leave the room with her toddler that acts like a wild animal. I told my children, 10 and 13, not to be duped into watching that brat. My 13-year-old daughter left the room when my sister left her alone with her kid to gossip with my mom. My daughter got up and left. Lynn's toddler pulled all the food off by the tablecloth and spilled red pasta sauce all over my mom's carpet. The kid was screaming and Lynn started to yell at my daughter when I told Lynn it was her responsibility to watch her own freaking kids. Lynn said she thought my daughter was watching the baby. I asked her, "Did you ask my daughter too?" Lynn said she thought my daughter was smart enough to watch kids if they were alone with them. My daughter said maybe Lynn should be smarter next time she thinks of having kids that she can't control or watch. Yes, this was rude, and I laughed. My mom told my daughter to help pick up the mess because she helped cause it. My daughter refused, saying it was Lynn's fault because she let her kids run around like animals. My mom said we could all leave because we had no respect for her or her house. My daughter said she wouldn't be back until her grandmother and aunt respected her. I took my kids home. My mom thinks I should punish or talk to my daughter and make her apologize, but I won't. I don't think my daughter did anything wrong, and it's Lynn's fault for not watching her own brats. Yeah, so I'm backing up both OP and their kid here. They did nothing wrong. And you can't imply that it was the daughter's fault in any way when you just dropped your kid off and walked away. You know why they didn't ask OP's daughter? Because their daughter would say no, and in that case they would have to accept that they would have to gasp take care of their own kid and watch them. Aid Aylin commented, honestly at the age your kids are, I would say entirely not the jerk. Not only for how you're supporting them to express their feelings and needs, but also not to bend to the pressure. Don't accept responsibility for things that are out of your control and you haven't agreed to be a responsibility, and teach your children the same. You seem to be doing an excellent job on that. The retort your daughter gave was indeed rude. It would have been better not to say things about others' reproductive choices, because it's quite obvious she's picking up these opinions and judgments from her parents. But either way, the parent is the responsible person for whatever the child did, even if there was another minor babysitting. Fandom Lover 94 commented, I totally agree, not the jerk. Depending on OP's relationship with her daughter, I might consider a you're not in trouble but let's chat kind of talk to explain how there are ways to clap back without being rude, that there are topics that are often best left alone, even when mad, but the talk should include positive notes of the daughter standing up for herself and setting boundaries. OP sounds like a wonderful mom. ETA, maybe rude wasn't the best choice of words. Perhaps a conversation about focused or related responses would have been a better phrase. The idea being comment on Ant's current crappy choices rather than potential further crappy choices. This next story is, am I the jerk for not being supportive of my girlfriend's decision of running a half marathon? I, 28-year-old male, have a girlfriend, 28-year-old female, that just recently decided to sign up for a half marathon come December. The reason why she signed up is because she doesn't want to go to an event that's also happening that day, so she has a built-in excuse. That's pretty wild to me. She asked me beforehand, and I told her that I thought this was a bad idea. She doesn't like running, nor does she run, and she could find another excuse that isn't running a half marathon. She still signed up anyways. She then told me that she'll follow a 12-week plan for running the half marathon that was given to her with her inscription. Here's the thing. I'm a runner in an elite running club. I've run over a half dozen marathons and countless 5Ks and 10Ks in my life. This summer I ran a 10K and a half marathon. I finished 5th overall in the 10K and 12th in my category for the half marathon. I'm by no means a good runner, good as in make a living running, but I do know what I'm talking about. She's often talked about wanting to get in shape, which I've always encouraged but never pushed for. It's not my place. About a month ago, she started to go to bar classes and she's enjoying them quite a bit. I've gone with her a couple of times too, so I assumed that going to bar classes was the final motivation she needed to sign up for the half marathon. Anyways, I advised her to start walking and jogging now before she starts the 12 weeks program. I told her that she needs to build a cardio base before she takes on a half marathon program that includes jogging, repetitions, intervals, long distance, hills, etc. She doesn't want to because she's not willing to stop going to bar classes and she gets tired doing 2 workouts a day. I told her that a half marathon is a lot of mileage and that she needs to get extra prepared so she doesn't get injured in the race. She said she's not interested in achieving a good time and just that she wants to finish, even if it's walking. Also that she has a cardio base from playing basketball growing up. She stopped playing basketball 8 years ago. I told her that she made this commitment and that she should take it more seriously. 12 weeks for a half marathon is a pretty standard program when you've been running and you want to hit your peak in the race, not when you're about to start from scratch. That was the last straw, and she got really upset with me saying that I was trying to put her down, not being supportive of her, and that it's not easy for her when her boyfriend is in great shape and she isn't. At that point, I apologized for making her feel that way and that I would drop it. I do feel that I need to find a better way to approach it, but I want to know, was I the jerk? I think you can tell OP did mean well, but I think they probably did go on about it too much. Honestly, if it ends up being too much for her, let her find out. Like, would it make OP feel better after the fact if she was like, you know what? I mean, she clearly stated her intentions and she made it known multiple times, so OP continuing to press them, I get it, out of good concern, but not wanted. Plus, it kind of feels like she's not as serious as OP's trying to make it out to be. I mean, she's kind of saying like it's not really all that big of a deal if the cardio base isn't good enough and I have to walk most of it. I'll do that, I just want to finish. Not Mapped Out commented, you're the jerk, but it's not that big of a deal. She's telling you how she feels about the race. She said she's not interested in achieving a good time, and just that she wants to finish, even if it's walking. But you're coming at this from the perspective of someone who thinks races are serious business. I told her that she made this commitment and that she should take it more seriously. She just wants to do this. She doesn't want to take it too seriously. She wants to enjoy it and do it at her own pace on her own time. Our next story is, am I the jerk for refusing to take a photo of my sister to college with me? Before my parents had me, 18-year-old male, they had my sister Emily. Emily was 3 years older than me and she died when I was a few months old. My parents never recovered. My whole childhood, I was in the shadows of the child they lost. I get that grief does things to people and that losing a child is the worst loss a parent can suffer, but it was like I didn't exist most of the time. They talked about Emily all the time. Sometimes they could acknowledge she was gone, but more often than not, she was talked about like she was still around. The most attention I got from my parents is when they force-fed words about how much I loved Emily. It never came natural for me to say, I love Emily and I miss her so much. I didn't know Emily, but I did feel haunted by her. I had a big photo of Emily on the wall opposite my bed growing up. They wanted me to fall asleep to my sister looking over me. It always felt creepy, but they had photos of her in every room, even the bathroom. I remember trying to take the photo in my room down, and my parents had a hugely explosive reaction. Like I'm talking, they yelled so loud the neighbors came to check on us. Emily's room was never touched after she died, and sometimes my parents would sit in there for hours sometimes. I was also forced to sit with them in there sometimes, but I had to be very careful because I couldn't touch anything or make the room filthy. Extended families were always so caught between being nicer to me to try and make up for my parents, or coddling my parents and putting the weight of their grief in Emily's death on my shoulders. They would tell me not to be so harsh on my parents when they, my parents, would let me down. My parents could never celebrate anything I did. My extended family tried to fill that gap, but sometimes it felt like they just came to lecture me about compassion and understanding. I did good through school despite getting no help or support from my parents, and I got a full scholarship to college. Before I left, my extended family came over to say goodbye and celebrate a little. Because there could be no celebrating me at my parents' house, my parents had these photos of Emily for me to take. They told me I'd need them for my dorm, but I left them behind. I didn't want to take photos of Emily. I wanted to get away from them, and that might seem really unfair. My parents realized the next day, and I got a text from my dad calling me all sorts of names for leaving them behind. Then my extended family said I could have taken one and should, because Emily is still my sister, and I should still try to remember her for my parents' sake, if not mine. Am I the jerk? I think OP is wholeheartedly not the jerk here. Honestly, to me, it sounds like a bit of a nightmare having to deal with what OP went through. Like, it's so obvious that at that point when they move out, they don't want to take those pictures. OP's not the jerk for continuing to enforce their parents' ideals. Lunar Eclipse 0204 commented, not the jerk. 1. Your parents need therapy to help them. Grieving, while it has no time frame, they never allow themselves to heal and move on. I hesitate to put this, but you might even benefit from at least talking to someone outside your family about this too. They might be able to help with the following. 2. You need to tell them just exactly how you feel and remind them you never knew Emily. Yes, she will always be your angel sister, but you have no connection to her and they need to realize that. 3. You also need to tell anyone who says you were wrong where to go and explain exactly why. If they can't respect you as an adult, which you are, for making a decision for yourself and your own mental health, then you don't need them. OP responded saying, I can't talk to my parents about it. The reaction when they saw me moving the photo or trying to was bad enough. But if I actually say anything that they feel is too dismissive of Emily, it won't end any better. They are not people I can talk to. We never had a real conversation before. Our next story is, am I the jerk for not letting my sister have the first baby name that we both loved? So I, 28-year-old female, have been married for 3 years, and my husband and I are expecting our first child. My sister Kate, 30-year-old female, has been trying for a baby for a while, but hasn't had any luck yet. A couple of years ago, we both talked about baby names we liked, and we both fell in love with the name Luna. We joked about who would get to use it first, but neither of us was pregnant at the time, so it wasn't a serious thing. Fast forward, I'm now pregnant, and my husband and I decided we want to name our baby girl Luna. When I told Kate, she flipped out, saying that I'm stealing her baby name and that it's not fair since she's been wanting to use it for years. I reminded her that we both liked it, and it's not like I'm doing this to spite her. I just genuinely love the name. Now she's telling our family that I'm being insensitive and selfish for not letting her have the name, especially since she's struggling to get pregnant. Our mom even suggested I pick another name to keep the peace, but my husband and I have our hearts set on Luna. Am I the jerk for wanting to use the name we love, even if it's the one my sister also wanted? OP's not the jerk here. First of all, they're not actually stealing when it was something that they both discussed, and they both clearly stated they both loved and jokingly said who's gonna use it first. It would maybe be a little bit different if OP's sister had said to people, I'm gonna name my firstborn baby girl Luna as soon as I have her. You know, it's all I ever wanted. You know, something that specifically from her states that it's something special to her. Not just, hey, we both kind of mentioned it and talked about it and said we both liked it. Old Presentation 3437 commented, your title is inaccurate. You're not letting your sister use the name. In fact, it's close to the opposite. I have about 4 cousins with the same name. They're all named after the same relative. And guess what? Everyone's fine with it. You would be in the wrong if you said that since you're making your kid's Luna, she can't name hers Luna, but she is just as free to use the name as you are. It could even be a special bond the 2 cousins share. But in no world should one or the other of you be able to dictate which name is used. Our next story is, am I the jerk for not letting my brothers spend time with our mother's affair baby? Long story short, my mother cheated on my father 4 years ago and got pregnant. My father forgave her and raised my half-sibling as if she were their child. She looks just like my mother, so only a few members of the family knows what happened. I didn't know about what had happened either because I live with my boyfriend. It was my brothers who told me everything. I'm not close to my parents anymore. I'm not interested in being close with their daughter because I'm not going to get into my parents' drama and toxic relationship. It's their lives, period. But when that all happened, I was already 25 years old, while my siblings were still living with them. When all the infidelity was discovered, it was in the house, so they saw everything. Coming to the present, my siblings never had a good relationship with my mother again. No, some families can't afford family therapy, so it was never an option. 2 of them no longer live with our parents, and the only one left, he's 16 years old, has come to live with me and my boyfriend. None of them have any contact with my parents' daughter or my parents. The 16-year-old ignored the 3 of them when he was at home. Now I've been paying him for the psychologist. My father and mother have let my brother live with me, but they keep insisting that I should talk with my brothers and make them spend time with her. I can't force them to do something they don't want to do. But my father insists that I'm the older sister and I should do something for the good of the family since my brother listens to me. My mother went as far as telling me that the little girl asks for us even though we've never seen her. Even my grandparents are insisting that I should talk to my siblings and convince them to spend time with her. But I don't know what to do, and all my family who knows about this, my mother's sister and grandparents, the rest of them don't know anything, I think. Or maybe they know but they don't care, says I'm the jerk for not doing my duty as an older daughter. Edit, I feel like I have to repeat this, but no one is hating a little girl. Neither my siblings nor I hate her. We want her to be happy, but we prefer to worry about our own mental health. She's 4 years old. A 4-year-old girl doesn't have to do anything without her parents, so letting her into my life is letting my parents back into my life. When my brother is of legal age, I plan to cut off all contact with them again, which is now only online. Meanwhile, all my siblings have their own reasons for not having contact since they live through our parents' toxic relationship. My parents are just drama and I'm sick of it. I don't understand comments saying that I abandoned her. She doesn't even know me. She's not my daughter. Why do so many talk as if I have the responsibility to raise her just because I'm her half-sister? I mean, a lot of people in the comments think and say the same things as my mother, so I'm even more confused than before. I kind of feel like OP hit the nail on the head when they said, I don't want to be involved in that drama. It honestly sounds, especially because it keeps perpetuating into being an annoyance and a problem that it isn't worth looking back and dealing with. Honestly, considering how OP and all of their brothers have moved out and they don't really have much conversation with their parents, it sounds like if OP did anything, it would be a step backwards. Vermo2 commented, not the jerk, not your monkeys, not your circus. Your mom freaked around and was found out. Your siblings do not need to have a relationship with your half-sibling if they do not want to. Good for your brother to be going to therapy. You paying for it makes you the A++ of big sisters. Be prepared for your parents to keep on guilting you, and prepare to go low contact or no contact if they keep pestering you and your brother. This next story is, am I the jerk for leaving, threatening to leave my mother with my paralyzed stepfather? I'm a 22-year-old man who's lived with my 62-year-old mother all my life. I was an unplanned baby, born when my mother was in her 40s. My biological father left us because he didn't want another child in his late 50s. I have 3 older siblings who are all married, so it's just been me and my mom. My mother is an incredibly kind person who never raised her voice or hand at anyone. Despite working 12-hour days, she always took care of me. When I was 4, she married my stepfather. He's not abusive, but he's very reserved and doesn't socialize much. He rarely supported me financially, only for essentials, while my mother provided for my daily needs. I graduated as valedictorian, which led to a well-paying job. I began helping my mother with finances, giving her 50% of my salary each month because I felt it was the least I could do after everything she had done for me. 2 months ago, my stepfather had a bike accident that left him paralyzed and unable to speak or move. Despite all efforts, doctors have said his condition is permanent. My mother is devastated and our lives have been turned upside down. We now have to care for him 24/7. My mother has spent all her time and savings trying to help him, but nothing has changed. I suggested placing my stepfather in an elderly care facility, but my mother found that idea disrespectful. 2 weeks ago, she told me she would quit her job to care for him full-time and expected me to be the primary financial provider. I was shocked and reminded her that my salary wouldn't be enough to cover all the medical bills and support 3 people. I'm also saving for my own future, but my mother insisted that family must support each other. After a long argument, I lost my temper and yelled at her, saying my stepfather was never truly my father, never tried to build a relationship with me, and I have no good memories with him. I gave her an ultimatum: place him in a care facility or I would cut her off from my life. She was shocked and started crying, as this was the first time I had ever yelled at her. Despite her pleading, I stuck to my decision. Since then, my siblings and other family members have been bombarding me with calls and messages, accusing me of being cruel and putting my mother in an impossible situation. They've even criticized me on social media, calling me ungrateful and selfish. Now, I'm starting to wonder if I'm really in the wrong. So Reddit, am I the jerk? I think OP's definitely not the jerk here. They just don't have responsibility here, and I agree that it's not fair to expect OP to take on all this burden. One thing I love in any situation that ends like this story did, where OP said all of my family members are ripping me apart, is just to flip it. So are they going to all volunteer to chip in some money and pay for this? Are any of them going to open up their homes and their living situations to take them in? Heck no, they're not going to do that, but they will rip you to shreds for not doing so. I would hit them up and be like, oh, so you want to do like a family-wide contribution thing where we all put in equal amounts of money? Great idea, right? Maybe we can even share visitation. What are they going to do, call you a jerk for trying to do something all of a sudden? Dogs Reading Books quoted, she would quit her job to care for him full-time and expected me to be the primary financial provider. They commented, it seems like your mom looks at you like you're her partner. You're not. You're her child. Not the jerk. Do not let this hinder you from your life. Live your life. Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my sister-in-law that her side hustle makes her a bad person? My brother, 33-year-old male, and his wife, 30-year-old female, have 2 young boys, 3 and 1. My wife and I have a 5-year-old son, so over the years, we've given them quite a few items that we no longer used or needed. Crib, clothes, toys, various baby items, etc. Most of the things were just taking up space in our house, and we knew they would put them to use, so we had no problem giving them away. We visited them a couple of weeks ago for their 3-year-old's birthday party. During the party, sister-in-law mentioned that she's been selling off a bunch of baby stuff as a side hustle. Both she and my brother are the youngest of their families, and she said that they get so many hand-me-downs from their siblings that they couldn't keep track of them all. Her solution was to start selling these gifts off online to make a few extra bucks. She was basically bragging about it. I told her that's a pretty crappy thing to do, considering that these items were given to them as gifts that they were willingly accepted and were expected to use. I asked her if they had sold some of the things we have given them, and she laughed and said that she was sure she did because we've given them a lot of stuff. I told her that if I'd known she was going to sell those items off, I would have given them away to someone else or donated them to a local nonprofit that helps young mothers in need. She got defensive and told me that it's not like she's making a lot of money off these things, just a few bucks here and there. I told her that the people buying those items are probably the same people who would benefit from getting them for free and that she's taking advantage of them. She went off about how hard things are with the economy right now and how they need all the help they can get financially. Mind you, both she and my brother have college degrees and work full-time. I know raising kids is expensive, but they aren't in dire straits. I told her that she probably shouldn't expect us to give them anything else in the future, and I would probably suggest to my other siblings that they refrain from doing so as well and look into other options for donating things. She got defensive again and told me that she doesn't feel like she's doing anything wrong. I told her she's entitled to feel that way, but my opinion of her as a person is now lesser because of this. She said that selling things they don't use to make a few bucks doesn't make her a bad person, and I told her that considering they were given these things for free, it kind of does. By this point, other people had noticed our conversation, and my brother stepped in to end the conversation before things got too heated. He told me I should mind my own business and that if I don't want to give them anything else in the future, that's my choice, but that I took this too far by calling his wife a bad person for selling things they don't use. I don't know, ideologically, I kind of see where OP's coming from. I just completely agree that I would be feeling some type of way if I were to give things to them and they seem to gladly accept them as if they needed them, only to throw it on the pile and sell it off later. Like, I'm just kind of operating under, if I'm giving you hand-me-downs from my kids, I'm assuming you're taking them because you do need them, you will use them. Like OP said, I would much rather you say, oh, well, I don't really need this, and you can pivot and give it to somebody that does or could really use that. Like, I'm not just trying to fill your backstock, you know? Honest Sector 4558 quoted, both she and my brother are the youngest of their families, and she said that they get so many hand-me-downs from their siblings that they couldn't keep track of them all. Her solution was to start selling these gifts off online to make a few extra bucks. They write, just to clarify, these are not gifts. A hand-me-down is an item someone else has already used but no longer wants. That's very different from them purchasing something brand new for a specific person. A lot of people who give hand-me-downs are just happy to be rid of those things because they no longer use them and are taking up space. They also have the option to try and sell or repurpose these items, but if they choose to give it to someone else, that's on them. They quote, I told her that the people buying those items are probably the same people who would benefit from getting them for free and that she's taking advantage of them. They write, full stop. This is a huge reach on your part. Tons of people resell used items or other things for a few bucks on various apps or at garage sales. Should all those people not be allowed to resell things? They're putting in the work to market the item, and they're probably selling it for very little profit. I think you're the jerk for trying to insist something that is perfectly normal is somehow inherently wrong. She's not taking advantage of people. She's putting in time and effort to make what sounds like a minimal profit off items she has an abundance of. Our next story is, am I the jerk for not going to my brother's wedding because he said my daughter can't go? Me, Liz, 38. My daughter, Lexi, 14, my brother, Liam, 24, got married last week, but messaged me saying my daughter Lexi could not come due to the fact that she's under 18 and there was no children allowed. I fully respect and understand that, but I messaged back telling them saying that my daughter is quiet and wouldn't be any much of a problem. My daughter is autistic and quite well behaved, but extremely sensitive. She would not have been a problem would Liam have let her come. After I replied with that, he said that Lexi was still not allowed to come, and I respected his decision. But a few days later, I got a message off a family friend, John, 28, asking if Lexi was going to the wedding, and I replied with no. Liam says no under 18, and John replied back saying that this is BS, his daughter Lillian, 13, is going. So straight after he messaged me, I rang Liam and we had a back and forth argument until he finally admitted that he didn't want Lexi there due to her autism. So I hung up on him and didn't go to his wedding, and I told my sister and a few of the guests and they decided not to go. Am I the jerk? Edit, my daughter used to have a lot of meltdowns, but as she's entered her teenage years, she's been handling them very well when she starts to get uncomfortable. She leaves situations, and currently she's laying next to me crying because she was so excited for the wedding and to see her new auntie in a pretty dress. It's been a week since the wedding and she's still upset about it. He got her hopes up and didn't tell us until the very last minute that she couldn't come. I've seen a few comments saying that I haven't read the whole story and my bad for not adding the details. My daughter is a level 2 autistic 14-year-old girl. She used to have extreme meltdowns over the smallest things, but she handles it extremely well now. And Liam knows that, as a week before the wedding we all went out for lunch at a restaurant and we all enjoyed it. As I'd already bought mine and my daughter's dresses, my daughter and I went out to get hair and nails done together for the wedding. And my brother didn't tell us until the day before the wedding. And my daughter was extremely excited and happy, and we went out and bought her some makeup and eyelashes for me to help her put on for the wedding. And she was so excited, bless her. She did have a meltdown when I relayed the news to her from Liam, but she calmed down quickly. Also, I'm going to add, my daughter has been to several weddings before and handled them well and enjoyed them. OP's definitely not the jerk here. This dude is a huge POS for just straight up lying. He was scared of admitting the truth and lied about it in such an ugly way. I'm really glad that OP was able to know and understand the truth here. If he had concerns, sure, I get it, but at least be man enough to be honest about it. CND Sports Fan commented, "Your brother is the jerk for lying about her age being the issue, especially considering if you went, you would have seen other minors there. You're not the jerk for not going if she wasn't invited." What is your daughter sensitive to? If it was sound or lights, that seems like something that should have been okay to discuss, not lie to you about. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy Am I the Jerk Here story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.